Good evening, everybody. This is Erik Ohlsen here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we're very excited to share this webinar with you tonight. I'm joined here with Ryan Johnston, the Program Director of the Permaculture Skills Center, and our new Program Coordinator, Lee Foster, is here as well. And we've been spending some good time getting this together for you, and hope you find a few gems tonight to support you on your way to starting your business. So tonight's discussion and conversation is about 5 lessons learned from growing a successful permaculture business. And actually, I'm going to be sharing with you a bit more than 5 lessons. So here we are, under-promising and over-delivering to you. I'm Erik Ohlsen, and I'm the Executive Director of the Permaculture Skills Center. Check us out at permacultureskillscenter.org. And I'm also the principal at Permaculture Artisans. We're a licensed contracting company. We do design and installation services. So that's just a little bit about me. And I've been running permaculture businesses for over 10 years. And I'm just going to share a little bit about what I've learned and experienced over that time, and some key aspects of how I've planned myself and my life in order to have a successful business, and also implementing permaculture in the act of making my business. So just a little bit about how things are going to work here. Please feel free, if this is your first time in a webinar, please feel free to ask questions in the chat window. And essentially what we'll be doing is going through about 40 minutes of presentation, and then we'll leave about 20-25 minutes for answering questions and having a little back and forth with y'all. And again, feel free to ask questions at any time, and we just probably won't address them until the end of the presentation piece. I like to start at the macro pattern. In permaculture, we use this principle called design from patterns to details. And I want to start out at the pattern. And why are we even talking about permaculture businesses? This actually can be a debatable topic around the world in terms of how we apply permaculture. And the way I see it is that we have an opportunity to shift the economy, the current economy, from a destructive force into a regenerative force. There's so much work to be done on the planet right now to heal the planet, to provide basic resources for the human community, to support wildlife, to sequester carbon. So many activities that we all need to be engaged in every single day. And I think in order to do that, we actually need to build an entire economy focused on the regeneration of the planet. Sometimes we ask ourselves, well, is there even a market for that? And I'm here to tell you the market is huge. There are huge sectors where we can integrate a regenerative economy right now. If you just check out this list, and this is even just a short list of different industries and sectors that we could potentially influence with a permaculture or regenerative design lens. We've got landscaping, agriculture, education, contracting, engineering, forestry. We've got urban development, policy making, healthcare, watershed restoration, peacemaking, and so much more. I did just a little bit of research, sort of back of the envelope style, to get a sense of, well, how big are these markets here in the United States? And a few of the things I discovered were pretty shocking. First off, landscaping, $76 billion in the United States. That is $76 billion of money changing hands, of gross sales in this country, and a large percentage of that is going to lawns and chemical landscaping methodologies. So, that's one place we can seriously have an impact. Agriculture, $400 billion in 2015 alone so far. It's a huge, huge economy, especially here in California. And one that, as many permaculture and regenerative design type people know, is a place where we can also make a huge impact as we shift to a more regenerative agriculture based system. Check out urban development. So I was pretty shocked when researching this to discover that the result of urban sprawl in the United States costs costs us $1 trillion a year, and that it costing us, it's spread out, but it means transportation of resources, transportation of water, electricity, utilities, and managing all that infrastructure costs approximately $1 trillion a year. That is a enormous number. And if we can affect urban development, urban design moving forward, uh, we can make huge gains, I think, in regenerating our urban communities, and and probably bring that number down because it's pretty ridiculous for maintaining all of our infrastructure. So as you could see, I mean, we could riff on a lot of these things. There's a lot of places that we can enter into the economy and affect change using ecological principles in design. So the first thing that I always let folks know, students and mentees, is you need to know yourself and have a plan. Having a plan is one of the most important activities I can advise anybody to do when starting a new business or a new endeavor. And I don't just mean a business plan. A business plan is great, and you crunch numbers and you get a good sense of whether you have something viable to offer the community. But I'm actually talking more about your dreams, about what kind of life do you want to live, what kind of career do you want to have, what sorts of activities are you passionate about? And I really believe that many of us, if not most of us, can cultivate a career that's in line with our dreams and our passions. And it starts with being able to have a plan. And I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later. And developing a narrative for your life. And essentially, what I mean by this, it relates to any kind of design that we do, say through permaculture artisans. We often think of a narrative. That's sort of the story of the design. How does it relate to place? How does it relate to the people involved? What's the story of succession as years go by and different parts of the system evolve? And if you do that for yourself and you develop a story for how to accomplish your dreams and how to make the most amazing business that you can dream up, it will take you a long way in staying invested and committed to making that a reality. Now, the truth is, and I think this is one of the biggest challenges people face, is that it will take longer than you think. I mean, 99% of the time it will. And in that process, you need to persevere and not give up, because as we'll talk about a little bit later, every time things are a little slower or you run up against the wall in designing and developing your own business, those are actually really great indicators that you can learn from and integrate into a business that's viable. So a great way to start in developing your business is building a network of professionals. In developing your business, you will quickly realize how little you know. This is a really key concept, actually. You need to know what you don't know, and understand that you can't be a master at everything. And so if you want to quickly build out a successful business, something I would highly advise to you is to seek out professionals in the field you're working in. Find people that you enjoy being mentored by. And when you find these folks, hire these mentors whenever possible and learn. And for me, this has been an amazing life experience over the last 20 years, where I'll have a project, and let's say we need to engineer a pond. And there was a time in my life I didn't know how to engineer a pond. And so rather than trying to do something that ultimately could be dangerous and have a pretty large error, I searched out professionals who had experience, and I hired them to help me design and engineer a pond. And in doing that, I got to learn how to do it the right way. And it can be any facet of your business where you might want to draw in a consultant. And these relationships with consultants are key to the success of your business moving forward. Because if you prove you're easy to work with and professional, you will get many more jobs this way. And what I mean is now the professional network that I have, which includes engineers, architects, designers, contractors of all different stripes, plumbers, electricians, general contractors, engineering contractors, this whole network of professionals, we're constantly drawing each other into projects. And the more that I, hook some friend or some professional colleague up with work, they want to do the same for me. And so if you can get in with a network of professionals and really build those relationships up, you'll find that you'll get a lot more jobs that way. And you're going to learn a lot too. I mean, I've had that opportunity where I was literally paid to be in the field as a designer, and my mentor who was there was also getting paid, and I learned a tremendous amount. So in some ways, this is sort of a way to cut through some of the challenges to getting a high level mentorship and to build your business up really fast. And one more thing I want to say about this is that when you're hiring these professionals, we're talking about ecological design, we're talking about permaculture businesses, but it's unlikely that the professionals that you're going to need to learn from are permaculture people or even ecological designers. In fact, it's really important that we realize that there's a lot of professions out there that don't necessarily have an ecological value, but are really, really good at what they do. And they may be a piece of a whole ecological design system. And so incorporating them and not allowing the difference in values to get in your way by learning from really high level people. You also want to really get to know your community and look for opportunities to work with specific groups of people like schools, sports communities, church groups, and more. So what I mean by that is getting in with certain circles will gain many potential clients. I've had the opportunity to get in with a Waldorf school community, for instance, and have had a lot of different wonderful clients that send their kids to a Waldorf school. And what happens is you work with one or two clients like this, you do a really good job, you really manage the relationship in an integral way, and they start talking about you to their friends. They have parties at their house, and they bring people over, and people ask them questions, and next thing you know, you're getting your phone ringing off the hook with calls from folks from that community. And the more you can diversify the different communities you work within, you gain a pretty large market that way. And part of being able to develop these kinds of relationships is not focusing on necessarily selling yourself or charging money all the time. Sometimes you really need to invest a little energy to gain people's trust and to develop a strong relationship. And so I'll take people out to lunch, I'll go to their events, I'll volunteer, for different projects, and really show up in those communities. And when you do that, people identify you as one of them. People identify you as someone they can trust. And later on, when they want your services, you're going to be the person they hire because they already know that you're integral and that you show up. So I often tell people, one of the most important things you can do for building a market for your business is building relationships. And we're going to talk more about that here in a sec. As part of that, and especially as it relates to my businesses, I've really focused on making an impact in the community. And I mean an impact that goes beyond just offering my services for money, but I mean donating my time whenever I can, helping the community in a volunteer capacity, providing spaces for people to organize and get together, like here at the Permaculture Skills Center. Any way that I can work with schools, cities, benefit organizations, and diverse communities and anywhere where we can make positive social change in our community, there's an incredible opportunity to one, apply the ethics of permaculture, which of course are care of the earth, care of the people, and fair share. And in doing this from a social point of view, it actually becomes a powerful marketing tool at the same time. Um, because again, like we talked about before in the other communities, people get to know you as someone who cares, someone who's integral, and who can show up and get things done. And so, while probably every year I donate maybe around $5,000 worth of design time and community organizing time to schools or cities or different organizations, and there's never been a single time where I regretted that investment in the community. Every single time I get woven into a new network of people, amazing people, and they often lead to jobs. But that's not even my focus. My focus is about making the largest impact I can, and the jobs sort of come secondary to that. But there's always a return on that investment of energy, and I think it's a very high level use of your time if you have the time to do it. And in the end, you want to do this in a way that doesn't sink your business. Don't give everything away. You need to have a strong, secure foundation. And so if you're not able to donate your time or resources or energy, don't do it. If you're bootstrapping and you're at the beginning of starting your business, and it just doesn't make sense, and focus on your business and get that foundation strong. But the more you can focus on building solid relationships within all of these sectors, I guarantee it's going to pay off in the long run. So we talk a lot about relationships here. We're talking about relationships in terms of social impact, talking about relationships with professionals, talking about relationships with folks in the community. And I want to talk a little bit about what makes a good relationship, because I think a key to the success of my companies is built on a few of the things on this slide here. So for one, be genuine, right? We're all going to have to fake it till we make it type thing, and that's totally okay to do. I've had to do that for years, and I'll just have to do that more. But when you do the fake it till you make it, do it with things that are not high risk, where you can draw in a professional if you need a little extra support on something, or you're unsure about a design or a service that you want to offer. Bring a professional in, and be genuine with your clients, though, and be genuine with the people in your relationship with. If you really don't know how to do something, or you don't have the time to follow through and commit to a particular project or a particular relationship, then be upfront about that. And that really goes a long way with folks. In addition to that, follow through on your commitments. There's nothing like gaining a reputation of flaking out on projects and on clients. And a lot of folks do that for whatever reason. And in the end, if you can't follow through with something for whatever reason, make sure you have good communication about it. Having good, concise, timely communication with people is absolutely vital to running a successful business. And as part of good communication, it also means talking about things that can be confrontational. It can be letting people know news that they don't want to hear. And it's always better to do that right away, not to wait, than to wait and let stories build up and let resentment set in. Because then if you do that, it may be challenging to save that relationship. I've had to walk away from thousands of dollars on a job in order to keep a positive relationship. And in that way, it was being in my own integrity about situations that were out of my control, but ultimately were my responsibility. And as part of being in integrity is owning your own mistakes. And so sometimes you're going to make mistakes. Every single one of us is going to do it. There's no perfect person. There's no perfect business. And first off, don't beat yourself up about making a mistake in your business, about falling short on a promise. As long as you have good communication, you've been genuine, you've done your best, then own your mistake. See it through to the end if you can. Whether that's seeing it through at no charge, or whatever that may be, because we have a diversity of different businesses that folks might be starting. But own your mistakes, be integral about it, and take responsibility. And I promise you that that type of managing of relationships will come back to you in spades later on. In fact, I've had clients who have hired us back exclusively because of how we owned our mistakes and showed up to make it right. And when you build that kind of trust with somebody, it's not something you find every day. And clients, when they meet a professional who can do that, they feel safe and they feel like they can invest in you just as you're investing in them. And the key to all of this is being open to feedback, especially at the beginning. You're not always going to get it right, and no one expects you to get it right. And be open to feedback. When somebody says, "Hey, this it could have been a little better if you did this or you did that," or I didn't appreciate that you showed up on a Saturday morning, you said you'd be here Friday, whatever it might be, uh, receive that feedback in a graceful way. Because one, it shows your integrity. Two, feedback from clients and feedback from stakeholders in your business, that is like gold. That is that is a treasure to be honored. Because the more feedback you get about your business, the more that you get to tweak and adjust your services or your products in such a way that you know people want them. And feedback often indicates things that you have control over. Sometimes it doesn't, but when it does, you can make those necessary changes in your business structure or in the development of a product. And then you'll know you have a very high quality product. And I would say, even if you're in the beginning stages of developing a business, even if you haven't started your business yet, go ahead and make a questionnaire, send out a Facebook post, something, ask people, hey, would you buy this product? Would you want to, would you come to a workshop like this? Would you would you pay for a service, such and such service? And hear what people have to say, and then really take that seriously. And within all of this is also just being flexible. A lot of large corporate businesses have a very structured system, which is great, and we need to develop really good structure in our businesses. But something that's made our company, um, uh, you know, very attractive in the community is that we will do some customization. We will meet people where they're at, and it is it's a slippery slope to do that because people can take advantage of you, and you can it can be inefficient as well, and you can lose some billable time that way. But ultimately, my flexibility around different clients' needs or students' needs has led to a deepening of relationships and really great projects and really great clients. So be very discerning about how you're going to be flexible, but if you approach relationships with a little flexibility, it can go a long way. So let's talk a little bit about messaging and marketing. Because we're talking in a very general sense about businesses, I'm not going to suggest specifics around a particular business, but something that I've learned is that you really want to be inspiring with your message and your vision. What sets you apart from everyone else? What's special about your point of view or the services you offer? Highlight these as reasons why people should be hiring you. I found that even beyond the services that my company provides, which are professional and high quality, it's the inspiration that comes with talking with our staff, with engaging with our educational material, with the fact that we want to have a social impact in our community while at the same time running a viable business. These things are very inspiring to people. And when folks get inspired, they really want to be a part of that. They want to follow through. They want more of that energy. So if you can be inspiring with how you market yourself, and also what is special about you? what are you passionate about? What are you really, really good at? Really highlight these things for people so they understand the level of confidence that you have going in. Be professional. Probably one of the most important aspects to mainstream ecological solutions. Look, let's just be totally clear right now. For the last 20 plus years, ecological designers and services and organic farming and permaculture and all these things, for the most part, in our dominant culture in the United States, is looked at as hippie, right? Alternative, something that some subculture engages in. I actually think this has been a huge blow to rolling out ecological solutions in a mainstream, large-scale way, is the perceived subculture, um, unprofessionality of folks engaged in these services. And the truth is, it's just not like that. We need to show up as professional, well organized, communicating clearly, and not passing judgment on people. And what I mean by that is package the solutions and services you're offering as something that's for every type of person. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Package the solutions and services you're offering as something that's for every type of person. I mean, all political stripes, all races, religions, all economic statuses. If we start if we start passing judgment on people because of where they shop, or the car they drive, or the house that they live in, and we show up to try to provide them services, ecological services, often what can happen is they'll pick up on that and won't feel that you're a very good match. And what I found is that first off, the solutions we're talking about from an ecological, regenerative landscaping and agriculture point of view, they are for everyone. Everyone needs clean water. Everyone has a right to healthy food, to experience and relate to nature in a beautiful way. These are things for everybody. And so let's not make it alternative. Let's not make it progressive. Let's make it the new normal. And I think that if we can start marketing ourselves in a way like that and showing up professional. I mean, for many years, I had long hair and braids and big long beard, and I was wearing activist shirts all day, and I had no problem with that. And that's me. But I noticed that really great potential clients who I wanted to work with just didn't take me seriously, and so they didn't hire me. And so I sort of got over that piece. And I'm not saying, go shave your dreads right now or anything like that. I mean, be who you are, um, but be professional. Show up in a way and market yourself in a way that's palatable to all different kinds of people. And this way, people will take you and your solutions very seriously. As we push the edge with the application of ecological principles in all these different sectors, we are going to need to educate our clients and help clients understand why an ecological approach is more economic and reflective of a healthy lifestyle. I think these are two key ways to talk about ecological solutions: is the economic value as well as the healthy lifestyle value. Because I think these are things that, again, people, all diverse people, all folks can relate to, no matter what their value stream is. And so let's really educate someone. Sometimes we'll have a client and they want to harvest water because their well dried up, but they don't want to harvest water necessarily because it's some sort of progressive, cool thing to do. They do it out of necessity because we're in a drought. And so at the same time that they may hire my company to go install a rainwater harvesting system, once we get the in, we can help educate them about, well, great that you're doing that, but have you thought about gray water? Would you like us to plant a few fruit trees? And so on. So every time you get that initial in with a client, it's an opportunity. If you manage that relationship in a good way, it's an opportunity to bring them farther and farther into ecological literacy. So that's what I mean about educating your client. and help them feel a part of something good. Everybody wants to be a part of the healing of the planet and the healing of the communities, and that might be a broad statement to say, but I think people generally want good things for themselves and their communities and for the environments that they live in. And so help people feel a part of that by hiring you to provide them with a particular service or a particular product. And that connection really turns people on and they become very committed to you. Also, as it relates to staff, and I've got about 20 staff right now, sometimes the best staff are not always the people who share the same values as you. And so, for instance, I've got some amazing installation crews for my contracting company, and not everybody on those crews are permaculture people or necessarily have an ecological value, but they are absolutely amazing at building ecological landscapes. They are hard workers, they're intelligent, they're creative, they are good people, and I don't judge them because they don't share the same values as I do. But what I do know is that I need to educate them about why we're doing things ecologically. And I need to keep drawing them into this ecological literacy so that they can also represent the company better if they talk to clients or vendors or whatnot. And in the end, all this is about, don't hold back on sharing your passion. If you got into this because you're passionate about something, don't hold it back. Let it be infectious. Let it draw people into your narrative, into the services you have to offer, and people will be knocking at your door, I promise you. But also be professional in that. Sometimes we can be a little overzealous with our passion and really turn people off because they think, oh my gosh, they're just crazy. They just wouldn't stop talking about swales and water harvesting, and I couldn't handle it, right? And so you really want to read the people that you're talking to and engage where people are at and respond to what feels comfortable with them. But you can really tap your passion back. I'm a very passionate person. I really get to practice with how to share my passion in a way that also isn't overbearing to folks. So look for that balance, but unleash yourself as much as you can. So let's just talk for a minute about communication systems, because the way I see communication, it is like the lifeblood of your company. It's like the water in the watershed or the blood in your body. It is the distributor of information and the nourishment of all the different parts and facets of your company. So you want to establish clear communications and expectations with all clients, staff, vendors, and anyone else associated with the business. And notice here I put establish clear communications and expectations. Expectation management is probably one of the greatest tools and necessary ways of managing clients. Often we'll get a little there's a gray area there where the client thinks one thing, you said one thing, the client thinks something else, and then who's going to pay for the mess up? Who's going to pay for the fact that somehow some things got lost in the communication? So be as clear as possible about about what you're providing the client, what are you providing it and when, and how much is it going to cost. Be as clear as you possibly can with these things, and that will take you a long way. And if you don't have good communication, I guarantee you the indicators will pop up very quickly that you haven't had good communication, because people won't know what you're doing, they won't understand what's going on, and you'll be pretty stressed out at that point. So save yourself some stress, establish clear communications and expectations ahead of time, and it will go a long way. And as part of that, especially if you have staff or you have a lot of clientele, set regular meeting times and be timely with your responses. Because there's nothing like having a client who wants to hire you or wants to buy your product, and they're waiting there with checkbook in hand, and they can't get a hold of you. And they don't know where you are, and they don't know if you even want to sell them your service or product anymore because they can't get in touch with you. If you're like me, I'm not the best at responding. In fact, it's hard to be always tied to texting and phones and emails and Facebook messages and all these things, and it can get a little crazy. But what I've done is I've developed a team as part of the ecology of my businesses, which provide that kind of function on my behalf. So if you're not the type of person where that comes easily to you, maybe you need to, maybe your first hire is an administrative support person that can do that for you. And in fact, that was one of the first people I ever hired, was an administrative assistant to do things that I couldn't do very well. I didn't have much passion for. But I do have a passion for being professional and for managing and taking care of my clients in a good way. So we've set up systems that provide that to the best of our abilities. Also, when you set regular meetings with your staff or with clients, it gives you a placeholder to talk about any issues or any changes that come up. And what's really great about that is that you or your staff or your clients, they can save up a lot of the bigger questions and conversations for those regular meetings, rather than calling you every single day and maybe you're busy and then now you're kind of in that stress mode of, oh, I'm trying to get back to them, but it's a really big conversation, and how are we going to get through this? And if anyone's ever been in a situation like that, I think you know what I mean. But if you know that, okay, every Tuesday I'm going to sit down with that client at 9 o'clock and we're going to have an hour meeting about the project, then everybody's really clear about the expectation and you're able to manage it in a way that's not stressful. Every single business is going to have problems. Every single business is going to have hard times, just like life. And the thing is that the problems that come up in your business often point to solutions. So we want to embrace the hard times in our businesses. These are indicators that lead you to find recipes for success. You want to pay close attention to why problems are happening and apply a systemic approach towards solutions. Just like in the garden, when we notice a plant that's covered in aphids. And, oh, okay, we've got a problem. This plant's covered in aphids. Well, any good permaculture designer knows that the aphids aren't actually the problem. We know that what we want to do is look at a systemic approach. Well, maybe there's soil deficiencies. Maybe the plant is stressed for some reason. Whatever it may be, often things that we perceive as problems are indicators of some inefficiency, some defect in the system itself. And when we correct the systemic challenge, we often will find solutions that are more efficient and more powerful than we thought possible. So the other thing is it's like feedback, right? When a problem happens, that's your feedback. That's gold. Treasure those opportunities, treasure those situations, because they're telling you what you need to stop doing, and hopefully they're guiding you in the direction of things you need to start doing. So don't fight against those hard times, and don't fight against that feedback. Embrace it, draw it into tweak your design, be in dialogue with it, and you'll be developing very sound, effective businesses from then on. So in the end, what are we doing here? We want to roll out a regenerative economy for this planet as quickly as we possibly can, so we can sequester carbon, we can care for people, we can regenerate this planet. And so we need to dream big. I really want to encourage folks who have the capacity to dream big. Think outside of the box that you've created for yourself and create a plan. Because creating a plan provides you with that North Star. Often I'll tell folks, think about who you want to be 10 years from now, right? What kind of work do you want to be engaged in? What do you want your business to be doing 10 years from now? And think big. Think, I want to be running a $20 million regenerative agriculture system on 2,000 acres in Central Valley, California. That's a huge deal. That's a huge dream. And you may not have 2 pennies to push together right now. But you know what? That's okay. Don't let the size of your dream keep you from developing that. Because what you do is you dream big, and then you reverse engineer from there. So see yourself in 10 years, your ultimate dream, and then start reverse engineering. What kinds of education or training do I need in order to achieve that? What kinds of financial resources am I going to need? Who are the types of people I need to surround myself with? Who are the types of professionals I need to work closely with? And as you start to develop a sense of what it will take to accomplish your dream, as you reverse engineer, you back design from that 10-year goal, and you reverse engineer to today, you're going to discover that there's a whole set of things you can do tomorrow that will put you on that path. I did this for myself 11 years ago. I set a 10-year vision, my wife Lauren and I, and we dreamed big. We had some crazy idea of buying land and starting a vocational advanced permaculture training school. We had some crazy idea that we could build a successful ecological contracting company and provide a whole bunch of people with well-paid jobs healing the planet. And at that point, we didn't have either of those things, and we didn't make much money, and we were just renting and trying to figure it out. Well, 11 years later, and we've accomplished every single thing on our list, and it's partially because we created that plan in the first place. So then, as opportunities came to us, we knew that, okay, this is a risk worth taking. And let's be clear, it's going to take risk. It's risky business to start a business. It's risky to dream big because there's that whole story in your head that you might fail. There's that story that you might blow all your savings and never get it back. Whatever those fear things are, listen to them and breathe into them. But know that it can be worth it, and it's going to take risk in order to get it done. So be courageous, but at the same time, be smart. So if you set goals for yourself, your business, and your life, you'll be well on your way to making it to making it come true. Of course, as things, as time moves on and you start building your business, things will change. Your life will change. You'll change. The market will change. And so change with it. Be flexible, and I guarantee you'll have success. So we want to talk a little bit about the programs we have at the Permaculture Skills Center, because while we've provided this free webinar for you, this is just scratching the surface. I mean, this is just a little taste of the kinds of conversations and topics and education that we provide at the Permaculture Skills Center. Also, I also want to just put a shout out there to the Permaculture Voices Conference, PB3, that's coming up in March in San Diego. I'll be speaking there, and this webinar is just a little taste of the conversations we'll be having there. We'll have an opportunity to dive deeper, get more into specifics. Hopefully I'll get to meet some of you face to face, sit down, spend time with you. And I really am committed to building a regenerative economy together. I'm really committed to helping people who want to step on a path to create an ecological business to be successful in whatever way that I can. And what I've done is help develop these programs, the Ecological Landscaper Immersion, Farm School, and these advanced water harvesting workshops, as a way for me to put time aside to sit down with people and help them be successful in their businesses. I'm going to invite our program director, Ryan Johnson, up to talk a little bit more about these programs. And as he's doing that, I'm going to look at some of the questions you all have asked. Please feel free, if you have a burning question, to send it now. And we'll take, after Ryan talks a little more about our programming, we'll take time to get into answering some of your questions. Thank you so much for tuning in. Here's Ryan.
Good evening, everybody. Ryan here. As Eric said, thank you so much for tuning in. It's really nice to look at the attendance list and see some of our past students and some of the students who are signed up for our next round of programming, and some prospective students as well, and hopefully some prospective students that I haven't met yet. As Eric said, I just love to share a little bit more about some of the programs that we have coming up in 2016. And hopefully in the webinar this evening, there's some little nuggets of information and inspiration that you took with you to apply to maybe the business you've already started or the business that you're looking to hatch in the world. And if you're pretty clear that a land-based permaculture business is sort of the direction you want to take your life in, you want to take your vocation in, you want to apply your energy to, I would really encourage you to check out both our ecological landscaper immersion and our farm school, both of which are professional development training programs that are sort of rooted in a framework of permaculture design. They both start with ecological problem solving as the foundation with which we build from. And then, of course, a lot of it is about embodying those skills, having the muscle memory for it. So a lot of it is hands-on training, building those skills. And with that, and in that, we do personal and professional development. And in a lot of ways, those are really one and the same. As Erik really highlighted in the talk this evening, I think it's first and foremost for all of us as citizens on the planet to get clear about what it is that we are here to bring forward. What is our spark? What is the piece that we're here to contribute? And as we clarify that, and there's a whole process that will walk you through in doing that, it then bridges into our work in the world. And there's a whole refining process and a planning process. It's setting that North Star, and then it's doing the back design to the present. What does that vocation look like for me in the world? And so for folks that are interested in getting into land design and landscaping and land management from the backyard to the broadacre, I invite you to check out the Ecological Landscaper Immersion. It's a 6-month training, 3 days a week. It goes from April to September, and we go really deep into those different facets. And then for folks that want to become part of a regenerative food system as sort of your first foot forward, folks that want to have a farm enterprise or have a food-related business, I invite you to check out our farm school program, 10-week intensive with also 3 days a week. And there's actually a 6-month mentorship after that one as well that's not captured in the dates you see there on the screen. And in both of these trainings, we're providing a kind of a rare opportunity that we really haven't seen anywhere else in the US presently, and then we're providing the opportunity to drop in with the folks who aren't only teaching these skills, but they're doing this work in the world. It's sort of their primary means of income is actually doing this work in the world, whether they're farmers or run a food-related business, or they're designers and installers, such as Erik. And Erik's a core instructor in both of our training programs. So it's really an opportunity. We sort of talked about it, and as Erik said, just skimming the surface this evening at a high level, talking about a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it not necessarily applied to your own business. So in these programs, it's an opportunity to go really deep and get personal mentorship and feedback on your ideas, honing those, and then developing a plan to take this work out into the world. And then the last training that we're really excited to put together as well is our Advanced Water Harvesting Workshop series. So it's a 2-part series. You can take one or both of them. And we're going to be going all the way from site assessment through design to the full installation of 2 really awesome, larger scale integrated water harvesting systems. And we'll be partnering with our good friend and mentor, Brock Dahlman, on both of those. Erik and Brock will be the main teachers for that offering. And so you can see there's 2 parts there. I invite you to drop in and check out more details on that. I'm really excited to bring Brock in to teach these. As many of you know, Brock is being flown all over the world right now, and he's one of the leading voices for regenerative water management. So really excited to partner with him on these offerings and an opportunity to go really deep with him. And then Brock will also be a part of our Ecological Landscaper Immersion program as well. So really appreciate you all tuning in, and we're going to switch over to the questions now. We have a nice stack of questions piling up. So as much as possible, we're going to address all of them and probably take us up to the top of the hour, or the bottom of the hour, rather, and maybe go a little bit further as well. And where there's a bit of overlap in the questions, maybe we'll roll those together. So I'm going to invite Erik back up to the mic.
Thank you, Ryan Johnston, for that. And hopefully we'll be seeing some of you at our programs in 2016. So we've got a list of questions here, and so I'm just going to take them from the top. We've got a request to talk about employees and labor, acquisition, performance standards, relationships, etc. This is a really great question. And over the last couple of years, I've actually had a chance to develop a really comprehensive hiring process, because sometimes you may put a request out for, okay, you need a new project manager, say, for your company, and you'll put that out on Craigslist or Indeed or whatever it may be, and you'll get a lot of great potential applicants hopefully. But sometimes it's really difficult to know if someone's the right match as it relates to your company culture, as it relates to their skill set, because folks are great at putting on a show in an interview. They're great at making themselves look great, in a resume, and even references sometimes. Someone can get a good friend or whatnot to talk well on their behalf. And I've certainly made really bad hires in the past and learned a great deal from those experiences. So what I do now is I actually put new hires through a pretty rigorous application process, which involves filling out a set of essay questions. And often what I'll do in the questions prior to ever having an interview with them is I will provide scenarios that they might deal with as part of their daily job. So for instance, when hiring a project manager, I've developed a set of challenging scenarios in the field and actually have applicants respond with what they would do in a particular situation. And right off the bat, you cut your applicants in half because only half the people are actually really serious about the job, and they realize how difficult it might be. And so you've already sort of gotten down to some of the better applicants. It's a really great way to to find somebody that works well. And I would just say that a few things to think about when hiring employees is one, can you work with them, right? I mean, sometimes you can find someone who has incredible skill sets that would be an asset to you, but they're not very good at managing relationships. They might, just be challenging to work with. And at this point in the life of my businesses, I hire someone that's easier to work with, that I can train, over someone who comes with a lot of skill sets, but that's difficult to work with. And so we all figure out what works for us, but that's what works for me. But if you can find someone both who's really great to work with and has a high skill set, those are the gold. That's the gold right there. In addition, is that we also have a 3-month review period with any new hire, and we often pay a little bit less than what the going rate. For 3 months, it's kind of a review or probation period, and then we sit down and we have a face-to-face review about their performance, and from then on we can decide whether we want to keep them on or not. So that's a couple things that help. And then beyond that, you want to maintain an investment with your staff, that they're invested in you and you're invested in them. One thing that we've started doing in the last year, and it's been a little bit expensive but worth it, is that we have a community staff day once a month, and the companies provide lunch for everybody, and we have a big meeting and we talk about what's working, what's not working, and maybe there's other things on the agenda that we get to. And that can be a really good way to provide a container for staff to provide feedback and to kind of understand what's up for folks and to come up with solutions that work. And that has been invaluable, although again, like I said, it can be a little bit expensive because you want to pay people to do that. And so it's a non-billable time there. Just wanted to throw out there real quick, we're happy to go over time here, so if you're able to stick through, we're going to hit all these questions, so hopefully some of you who've asked these questions can stay tuned in for a bit longer. We're happy to just work through these questions until we're done. So, so stay tuned in if you can. Okay, next question, how did an administrative assistant help me? So I'm, from the beginning, I've always been a kind of in the field designer, face-to-face with relationships and building landscapes myself. And so getting up behind a computer, answering phones all day, figuring out insurance forms and tax forms and all the things that make us legitimate. Those are things that I just really don't have a passion for. So it was a bit of a stretch. But when I hired my first administrative assistant, I knew that it wasn't going to be billable, and so I was a little concerned about that, but I hired her anyway, and I'll tell you, it was invaluable. Immediately, all the stuff that I couldn't get to got done, and we were able to actually get back to clients faster. So even though paying an administrative assistant, you're not making money on them, you can't charge a client for their time, but if they can follow leads for you, keep the communication and relationships going for you, keep all the, dot all the I's and cross all the T's in terms of keeping your business legitimate, it will pay back in spades to have someone like that. Another question here, what percentage of billable time labor is dedicated towards site management and upkeep? So my assumption there is that's for the Permaculture Skills Center, where we are right now. It's a 5-acre educational site, and we have currently we have no billable time in terms of management of the site right now. But what we've created, and this is early stages, and it's something that we're developing over the next couple of years, and we'll definitely be sharing this with folks, is we're developing what I'm calling a permaculture business guild here on this site. So what it is we're inviting other businesses and folks with enterprises who maybe don't have access to land or don't have a lot of resources, but they're really good at what they do, to have their enterprise here on our 5-acre site. And right now, we currently have 2 farmers, independent of the Permaculture Skills Center. They're running their own businesses here farming. We have potentially a nursery that will be started, also independent of the Skills Center. And so what we're doing is developing a guild, a community of different businesses that function here. And as part of that function, a lot of the upkeep of the site gets done. And it's, like I said, it's an evolving system, and we'll talk a lot more about that in the next year or so. Let's see, another question here we have. Any tips or suggestions for those transitioning out of the ornamental horticulture industry? We're a design build firm moving into the permaculture field. So yes, absolutely. Good for you to make that shift, and that you already have an infrastructure to do that. I think that you are poised perfectly to make that shift. And so often what we do is, lead with the ornamental work, because that's what you have going. And what you can do is actually, as part of your ornamental horticulture work, start incorporating things like water harvesting systems, soil building systems. If what's driving clients to you is your beautiful plant material and your ornamental gardens, then start developing the infrastructure for the ornamental gardens in a way that exemplifies some of these other permaculture pieces. And as you start to get known for now an ornamental garden, maybe you could throw a few edibles in there, but it's water harvesting, it's building soil, but the story is this ornamental garden, you can slowly start moving into that realm. Sometimes I'll have clients and they want to hire us because they saw some work we did, but they're not necessarily into permaculture, but they really want roses. They just love roses. It's like, great, we're going to design roses for your garden, no problem. We're going to design you the most amazing rose garden. But it just so happens that your roses are going to be watered from the roof water catchment system that we're suggesting we install for you. It just so happens that the hedgerow, insectary hedgerow next to the rose garden to help with aphids on the roses is going to be a multi-diverse, nitrogen-fixing, insectary, soil-building, edible hedge. And you don't even need to tell them all those things if you think that would turn them off. But you can start sneaking in some of these more permaculture-based design and implementation techniques while you're managing the market that you have. And so good luck with that. Please keep us tuned into how your transition goes and if we can help you in some way. So the next question is, what design software do you recommend? Starting two-dimensional, is there anything free? I've got here one of our designers, actually water system specialist with Permaculture Artisans, Sebastian Birch. And I've pulled him in on this because I actually, myself personally, this is an aspect of the business that I do. And so luckily Sebastian is here and he's going to answer this question for you.
Howdy, folks. So on the question of design software, the biggest question you have to figure out is what's your context? Who are you designing for? What's the extent to which you need detailed drawings? And in what format do you need those? So just to list out a couple options for you, starting at if you're looking to do professional drawings for construction, for permitting, for the, say, the water systems that we do here at Permaculture Artisans, the industry standard is still AutoCAD. And yes, it's an expensive software seat. In terms of learning, there's a lot of great options through local community colleges and even free online resources to get started with it. For landscape architecture, you can now expand into some other specialty softwares, including Dynascape is a common one in our community, at least. For free options, you've probably heard of a lot of these. SketchUp can do some really powerful things in 2D and 3D. If you're looking more on a geographical scale, more for land management, then some open source options are QGIS, or Quantum GIS, Geographic Information System. The other free software that I've seen some really nice designs put through very clear, effective designs is through GIMP, which is another free open source system. The real question that comes down to is what is it that is going to be effective for your project? There's no need to get excessive with the aesthetic of your design if that's not what your client is really willing to pay for, or if that's not the effective communication tool for them. So if you're curious to talk more about it, I would point you in the direction of the Permaculture Skills Center Facebook page and put up the post, and let's keep talking about it.
Thank you, Sebastian. And we are still here with you all. We're still answering questions, so stay tuned in as we continue to move through some of your great questions. Okay, so the next question is regarding the education of clients. Do you provide studies, data, or other relative info in regards to long-term planting solutions? And do you assist with connecting clients with markets of the crops you're selecting? That's a great question, and it's really a case-by-case basis. We have a huge diversity of different clients, and only a handful of them are actually trying to market their crops. Currently, Permaculture Skills Center provides minimal maintenance services to our clients, so we do have a few of our larger clients that we have deepened relationships. We do maintenance for them. There's a lot of other great companies around that do ecological maintenance, and something that we'll be probably unveiling in the next year or two ourselves more. But ultimately, we certainly support our clients with any kind of books and resources, online data. Often when we provide planting systems, we set up spreadsheets that provide a lot of information about the different plants that we're planting. And we do pretty much anything for our clients. I mean, if a client is asking for us to help them with connecting with markets, we're there to help them with that. We're currently designing a few market gardens, and we're doing research right now on what kind of niche crops that grow well in our area might also be something marketable for them. So yes, the answer is yes, absolutely, and it's a case-by-case basis. Next question. How did we dial in our 10-year goal to something specific? I have a lot of passions, and every time I try to set something as what I want to do, it seems like I'm cutting out one of the passions. That's a great question, and I think it's something that a lot of folks can relate to. And it's really difficult when you do have a ton of passions to focus in on one thing. And my advice to you is, don't rush. Don't feel rushed. If you feel like you're cutting out some passion because you're following a particular set of goals that are leading you down a particular path, my suggestion is stay on solidly on that path, especially if you're following leads or there's opportunities that are unfolding before you. I would stay on that path and follow those leads and do it really, really well. and know that those other passions are still there. You'll find creative ways to incorporate them into whatever you're doing at the right time. But I used to rush around a lot. I used to think, I need to learn how to, I need to learn how to, build ponds, and I need to learn how to build a cob house, and I need to learn how to graft fruit trees, and I need to learn all these things. I need to learn them now. I want to be an expert now. And for a lot of years, I was just sort of running around, learning a little bit about all these things, but not really deepening and becoming masterful in any one of them. And I could say now, almost 20 years in doing permaculture in my life, that I don't regret taking 3 years to focus on learning how to do really good earthworks and operate equipment while I didn't put time into some of my other passions, because I ended up having time to do those as well, just a little bit later on. And it takes time to develop a strong foundation for yourself. And so I always let people know, we all have really great visions for ourselves, for the world, and a lot of visionary folks, what happens is you get these great ideas and you want to see them happen, but often your timeline that for yourself about when you want these things to happen isn't realistic. Almost always it's going to take much longer than you think it will take. And that could be a little disheartening sometimes. You almost feel like you failed because, gosh, I've been doing this 2 years and this doesn't seem to be working out. And I mean, listen to that as feedback, but at the same time, I've found that it really takes more like 5 years to build a strong foundation in something. And it's really hard to feel like, oh, 5 years, man, that's a long time. But, in the scheme of things, it's really not. And then once you've done that, I mean, all of the best things I've ever created in my life, my businesses, my family, these things took a really long time to develop, but they are the most long-lasting parts of my life as well. And they provide me with the kind of foundation that I need. So now I'm at a place where I can follow passions that I've had for a really long time, but I never had the time to do them. But now I'm finding ways to incorporate that into my work. So I would just say, be patient. It's okay to focus on something and put something else on the burner for a while, and you'll have time to come back to it. Okay, next question. I guess that's pretty much it. So I just want to say, here at the Permaculture Skills Center, just like with this webinar and the programs that we're offering, we think of us as allies for you on your journey. If you need support in a particular way, hopefully you can come to some of our programs. If you can't come to a program and you want to stay involved with us and want to continue this conversation, well, feel free to send us a message. Let us know what that is. Let us know what you're doing, what you're about. Maybe we have some colleagues or some students that are a perfect match for your company. We're developing a large network of professionals throughout California and the United States and the world right now. And it may be that we just need to do a little matchmaking for you to get the kind of support that you need. So please feel free to follow up, connect with us, let us know what's going on in your world, in your businesses, and we'll do what we can to connect you with the right people. Thank you again so much for tuning into our webinar. Check us out at permacultureskillscenter.org and have a great night.